Phasing a project is a good way to maintain some flexibility, have a bigger idea for where you want to go, even if you can't get there at the beginning. And because everything these days is so expensive and harder to get, it's something that comes up a lot more these days in projects. But if we don't phase things in a way that makes sense and sort of anticipates both what's coming in the future while also making sure that we're building a top tier facility right now, you may end up wasting time and money. You may end up having to build things that you could have done in a better way. Things might not be able to be shared very well across, phase one, phase two, phase three, whatever it is. And so what's interesting about phasing is that, phase two, phase three, it might never happen. So we need to make sure that the initial build out is actually good enough, exciting enough for you, but also does some things to anticipate what a future phase might be if that's something that you're interested in. And the commitment to that varies. If you know it's going to happen, then that's one thing. If you think, well, this could happen, that's a different thing. And that'll affect the way that we interact with each other in terms of planning for the phasing of your project. So, in reality, what that looks like is say that you are wanting to do a project, but you think, well, actually, I might have to do it in a phase one and a phase two. So, what I would talk about with owners is okay, well, what are the things that we think about when we're trying to create a plan for phasing? And so, a lot of the things in a building are dictated by the size and the use of a building. So, literally, length times width, meaning what's the square footage of the building. That is going to equal, how many water closets we need, how many toilets, how many sinks. All these different things are actual just direct results out of square footage and the use, meaning there are different requirements for, say, a theater versus a climbing facility versus a school. So these are all varied depending on you. But with that said, the places that we locate them, meaning, where do we actually choose to put things like blocks for bathrooms? You know, can that not only serve this need, but also in the future serve that need, should it ever come to be? In my opinion, we want to make sure that this is like a great facility, but depending on how much of a commitment you have to phase two, the more that we can plan for some of this stuff to actually overlap, the more efficient it might be. And so, even where the front door is, like where are you coming in here? How might that connect to that in the future? Even in terms of just listing the program that we want to have in there, we want, this, and this, okay, well, what could we pull over? So rather than having a pie for phase one where we say, okay, we're going to add this and this and this, and we're just going to keep sort of chopping it up to fit all the stuff that we want. And then basically phase two, it's like, well, who knows? What in reality, what often ends up working better is to say, okay, we're going to take phase one, we're going to chop it up less and realize that some of what we wanted up here is actually just going to slide down into phase two. And what that means very often is that you end up with a better phase one because it's been chopped in half less times, and, sort of chopping things up into too many pieces. Often it doesn't do any of them very well. So rather than that, you get phase one plus phase two equals, where you want to be in the end, but you might not get there right away. And again, it's important to make sure that phase one is something that you're actually happy with, because if you're not happy with it, then we need to reconsider that. And phasing is tough because, say this was a different space next door, landlords change. They might sell the building. They might just say, oh, I got a different tenant, whatever. There's any number of reasons that you may or may not be aware of. You may not even be able to think of why phase two may not happen. None of this is certain. None of this has certainty built into it, but that's the name of the game we play. And that's why it's all about moving these pieces around and maintaining flexibility, because we have to sort of think through what could happen, realizing that other things can change. The economy can change, landlords can change, somebody can go out of business, your business model might change, whatever it is. So the key for phasing in my mind is, yes, we want to make sure that phase one is good, but we also want to consider how can we take phase two into account or whatever, if there's more of these different things, so that we can get the best result today and the best result in the future without having to waste money. And this is a balance because, what this means from a very practical point of view is it might mean that you're building extra. Say you only needed to have two toilets in each bathroom or whatever, just use a very specific example. If you add on, maybe you need to add another toilet or whatever it is. So do you choose, I'm going to build extra in phase one anticipating phase two, or do you just say, well, I realize I'm going to have to build more stuff over here, which is basically, something that the uncertainty is high enough where let's not plan on this happening, whatever it is. The reason why all of this is so important is because none of it is certain. And that's why we talk about options. We talk about how this could go, what could happen. We imagine the same thing with users, by the way. We sort of imagine different users and what their experience in a building would be. That doesn't mean we're forcing them to do it that way. In fact, so many times users actually show us other things that we didn't even necessarily anticipate. And so it's the same thing with phasing. It's like if you have to phase things, say you just don't have enough of a budget to build the whole thing, fine, no problem. Getting something open these days, in my mind, I think is a really important step because you can always grow from there. But getting something going is important. And so phasing can be a good way to help you get there. And if you'd like help with your projects, please reach out. I've got booking lines and booking links available in the description below. So I look forward to talking to you. And if it's not something we can help you with, we'll shoot you in the right direction. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.